Hi, everyone. My name is Pat Erwin-Ploog. I'm the Assistant Dean of Library Services for Granite State College. What I'm going to do today is give you an overview of library services and then take you into the GSC Discovery Service, which is our digital library, and then do a little work with you on your English 500 class. I realize that this is a recording, so you can't ask questions. I'm going to go over how to contact me also. I like to start with talking a little bit about student services. And so, as you all may know already, this is the library homepage. The URL is librarygranite.edu. If you click on student services, there's a list of the kinds of things that the college library can do for you. And I think the three important ones for this class are, first of all, helping you connect a research assignment with the library resources. Secondly is citing your sources. And while I can't look at a whole bibliography that you're submitting, if you're having trouble with one or two citations, or you just want me to check them for accuracy, send them along. I'm happy to do it. And then finally, I want to encourage all of you to get a GSC ID card. It may not be that relevant for this particular class, but at some point in your GSC career, particularly when you get to the capstone project, what you're going to find is that although we have millions of articles and over 200,000 ebooks in our collection, we might not have exactly what you need for more heavy-duty research. And with your GSC ID card, you can go into any academic library in New Hampshire, with the exception of Dartmouth, and check out the same resources that a student there could. And what I do is you tell me what you are looking for, and I'll let you know where it's located. Unfortunately, you would have to drive there to use it, but it's still a big benefit to you as a student at GSC. So let's go back to the library homepage. The other important element that I like to emphasize is how you contact me. While classes are in session, I offer research and reference help 7 days a week from 6 in the morning till midnight. You can email me. This is my cell phone number. Students call me all the time. And certainly, as you progress again in your college career, I can set up either a Zoom session with you, or occasionally we'll meet you face-to-face when you're maybe beginning your research, again, with your capstone, or having a tough problem finding the resources you need. The idea is that at no point do we want students to get frustrated or feel like there's no library support for them. So please, you're not bothering me. This is part of my job. Make sure that you contact me when you need help. But the thing that I think most students really want to know about is our GSC Discovery Service, which is our doorway into our digital library. And I'm just going to make an aside because I had a student ask me the other day. We do not have a physical book, paper format library. What we have is a digital library. And we're one of the few libraries, academic libraries in the country that are set up this way. Obviously, the good news is that we're never closed. You could do your research assignments at midnight or 2 in the morning if that meets your schedule. The challenge is that in most academic libraries, when you walk in the front door, there's a whole group of librarians there to help you. And we don't have that. We have me. And that's one of the reasons why I have these extended hours, to make sure that you know that the research support is there for you. So over here on the homepage, you see Start My Search. User ID is Granite SC, and actually the password is Granite SC too. We've made it as simple as we possibly can for you. So you click Login. This is what's known as the basic search page. It's where all your searching should begin. And I'm just going to mention two links here under search options. If you click on that, down here you'll see full text is clicked. That means that when you do your searching, you're going to get full articles back, not just the abstracts. You have the power to turn that off. I would recommend you leave it on. Just because if you get an abstract for an article we don't have, that's when it comes into play that I hunt it down for you and I tell you where it's located, and then you have to go and get it. So it's to your advantage to leave full text on. The other is peer review. And I'm not going to say too much about peer review for this class, but just be assured that what peer review is a system by which articles, before they're published, are reviewed by another expert in the field. It's not foolproof, but it works fairly well, particularly in the sciences. It also, to get an article peer-reviewed, takes upwards of a year between when you submit it to a publisher and finally when it gets published. And in certain areas, such as cancer research, that's a long time. So there are other review methods that take place in the sciences. But I'm not going to check that now. Under keyword, you're going to see a little chevron. If you click on that, you'll get keyword, title, and author. Title is very useful for ebooks, especially. A little bit more problematic for articles because they tend to have longer titles, and you really have to have the title exactly correct, or you're going to get the response, "We don't have the article in the library." So just be aware of the title search. Author, very flexible. First name, first name, just the last name of the author. It can be useful. But I think the search that we all gravitate towards, and this is, I think, because of Google, is keyword. And the good news about keyword searching is you'll almost always get something back. The bad news is that you could get 3 or 4 million hits back. And just to compare it to a Google search, we know from research that when you do a Google search, the vast, vast majority of people never look beyond the first page of hits. And actually, it's the first 3 hits. And if you look at them and you think, oh, there's way too many here, you just don't go any further. Library research is a lot different, and you might get 3 million hits, and the research article that you need is on the 54th page of your hits, which is why getting your keyword search down is so important. It can save you a tremendous amount of time, and I'm going to talk a little bit about keyword searching after we go through the discovery service a bit more. But getting your keyword search down really starts before you even start using the library, and asking yourself the question, what do I really want to know about this topic? So let's do a search that's very flexible. Conflict resolution. Okay, the first thing you'll notice is we got 2,585,000 hits. That's why I like to start with this search. At the head of the search is something called a research starter. There are millions of these now in the GSC Discovery Service, and they'll always appear as the first heading in your search. What these are what I think of as Wikipedia for research. They're articles that have been written by experts, and they provide a broad overview of your topic. Within the article are often terms you should know, concepts, lead thinkers in the topic, and they always end with a bibliography. And the way you can use a research starter is, first of all, if you're interested in a topic, but you don't know a whole lot about it, a research starter will give you that broad overview. Also, the bibliography will lead you to other articles that you might find interesting under the topic. So if you hit one of these, do look at them. Let's go back to the search details. Okay, and our 2,588,000 hits. I'm not going to play around too much with the conflict resolution keyword search right now because there's a couple of things I want to show you. The first one is these tools along the left navigation. First one up is peer review. So if your research assignment says, I want peer-reviewed articles only, you can turn the peer review on, and you've culled out a whole lot of your hits. You're down to 835,000 hits. The next tool that you can use is called the date slider. For most of the research we do at Granite State, students want the most current resources. So you can slide the date slider over. And oftentimes your instructor will tell you, I only want to see articles that are peer-reviewed from the last 5 years. So you would slide it all the way over. And you see we've knocked off another 200,000 hits. Then the other two limiters that I use a lot are language. Most of us are looking for English language articles, so this is where you would call out any other languages. And then geography. And geography is one of those limiters that you have to think a little bit about. Certainly conflict resolution happens all over the world, but maybe you're only interested in conflict resolution in the United States. So you would click on United States. And if you were interested only in China, you would click on China. You see what's happened to our 2,588,000 hits. We're down to 18,556. Still way too many, but it does give me an opportunity to then show you, let's see, let's pick a good one. Because we have full text, every article is going to have a PDF attached to it. So if you open up the PDF, here is the article. And let's see, I'm actually going to go over and pick another article and see if I can find one to show you something else on it. Let's try this one. New. Yeah, here's a good one. This will do it. Yes, this is a good one. Certain journals, if I were a researcher and I were submitting an article to a journal, that journal has all sorts of guidelines about how they want to see my manuscript presented to them. And if it's a journal that uses American Psychological Association, APA, when I submit my article, I need to write an abstract, which comes right after the preliminaries, like the title and authors of the article. But I have to do something else. I have to identify keywords for my article. So if you were looking at this article and thinking, wow, this is perfect for my research, look after the abstract for those keywords, because they're going to give you other hints of how to do your searching. The other way that you could use this article is, as you know, down the end of an article, when we get there, there's going to be references or a bibliography. In this case, it's called bibliography. This article is actually in APA, and the bibliography should be called references. But it's also a European article, and they probably follow different standards. But the key point is that if you read this article and you thought, wow, I can really use this for my research, look at the bibliography or the references list, because these are the sources that the author used in preparing their article. And it might be that some of these sources will be useful for your research. And then finally, up at the article, at the author names. As researchers and scholars become more experienced in their careers, their research becomes much more focused. So if this article met your needs, I'd do a search on these two authors' names. It may be that they've written other articles that could be useful to you. So that's 3 ways that once you find an article that really meets your research needs, that you could use that article to find other articles through the keywords the author has identified, through the bibliography that the authors have used to prepare their own article, and the authors' names. The last thing I wanted to show you over here is something that if you put your cursor over this little icon that looks like a page, it's going to say Cite. And you click on it, you're going to get the citations for every article, for this article in every format imaginable. And you might say, well, why do I get it in every format? It's because it's tied to the class you're taking, not to the article. So if you're in the writing process and you're using MLA and you're going to use this article for your research, the system reminds you that your bibliography is called Works Cited, and here is the citation in MLA. If you were in a science class or a social science class like sociology or business or education, you would be citing this article in APA. Your bibliography page would be called References, and this would be the citation. You can copy and paste this right into your bibliography page. I do a lot of teaching for GSC besides being the college librarian. And what I tell my own students is, yes, this is a great time saver, You can copy and paste, but it doesn't get you off the hook. You still need to look at the citation and verify that it's correct. I would say that our discovery service system has done a much, much better job in presenting these citation formats correctly, but there are still errors every now and then. And sometimes the errors relate to, particularly with APA, they change, they update their style guide. So you need to be aware of that. So that's, I think, all I'm going to say about this. I wanted to go back to the results list. And I want to very briefly take you back to a new search. We are back to the basic search page. I'm going to do my conflict resolution search again because I want to show you something. We're back at the 2,588,000 hits. Over here on the left navigation is something called source types. And down here is ebooks. You have to have peer review turned off. And I generally find just doing a new search is the easiest way to do this. If you click on ebooks, you're going to get all the ebooks we have that are related to conflict resolution. And we have quite a few. Not all of those will meet your research needs, but it's more an issue related to the keywords that we're searching. But I want to make sure that you knew that the ebooks all have a PDF. You can look at the table of contents before you even open the PDF. There's a set of tools that are very similar to our article tools. There's a cite tool up there for citing the ebook. You can save pages. You can print pages. You can save a permalink to the book. And this means that you're saving the actual link to this book. Don't save up here in the URL. These are all in a database, and the permalink actually links you to the actual item in the database. More and more publishers are not letting us download the full ebook. The expectation is that you read it online. That's sort of where we are in the publishing world right now. It's not with every ebook, but if you run across one that wants you to re-log in and you only have it for a certain period of time, that's what's going on. So let's go back to the results list. Okay, I'm going to turn ebooks off, and we're going to come back to that 5 million. We're at 2,585,000 hits. If you were to write to me and say, well, I'm doing my paper on conflict resolution, I might respond with, well, what do you want to know about conflict resolution? It happens all over the world. There are all sorts of conflicts. You might notice with the research starter, the term that's being used is conflict mediation. That's a big aspect of conflict resolution. It's actually a more formal term, but I would ask you to think about the kinds of questions reporters ask about who, what, when, where, and why. And before you even begin searching the GSC Discovery Service, the more time you spend thinking about what do you really want to know about the subject, the better your searching will be. And I've pre-done this one, conflict resolution, and middle school students and social media. First thing you'll notice is that I've joined these three concepts with and. This is what's known as a Boolean operator or a join. They have to be in capital letters, and it takes these three concepts and joins them together in the search algorithm. The three Boolean operators are and, or not. For this search, one of the things that I did was say, I'm interested in conflict resolution, middle school students, and social media, but I'm not interested in boys. Now, I could say middle school girls, but for the sake of showing you how to use the not, I'm doing it this way. And we got 129,588 hits back, again, without turning any of our limiters on. So if we turn on peer review, and we're down to 27,000, and you see the first one is in Spanish because we've not turned the language limiter on. Now, don't assume that every one of these articles is going to actually be relevant to your searching. Again, thinking about the keywords and what you want to know. This is a good time to also mention that every academic discipline, every subject has its own vocabulary and way of speaking about a topic. So conflict resolution in education might be slightly different than conflict resolution for a government class. And one of the challenges you'll have is thinking about, well, how do I find out what the terms are? A lot of it is by looking at articles, looking at your subject, looking through journals, and seeing what people and scholars are writing about. I'm going to change this to conflict mediation and see what I get. I may have gotten much better articles, or articles that more clearly meet your needs. So that's kind of playing around with language you need to do. Let's go back now. I'm going to leave the Discovery Service and go back to the library homepage. And here we are back at the library homepage, because I want to talk a little bit about the library research guide. You access this right from the library homepage. And this is really something that I update every year based on primarily what kinds of questions students are asking me. Sometimes it has to do with working with a faculty member, most recently with the graduate studies and their guidance on writing a graduate school paper. Let me just go over this very briefly. There's an introduction to library research, and if you click on this, let's see, we're having a little issue today. These are the kinds of topics that are covered in Introduction to Library Research. How scholarly information is organized into disciplines. What are primary sources and secondary sources? These are terms you're going to hear throughout your college career. And this can be very useful to you in, well, if I want a broad overview of what primary sources are, you can click on this and it will give you a pretty thorough information about primary sources and talk to you a little bit about where they appear and what you can do with them. The GSC Discovery Service, there's a whole lot of videos and additional information about how to get the best out of the GSC Discovery Service. Under the research process, there are a number of help documents related to defining your topic, thinking about a thesis statement, and then finally thinking about your simple search strategies. And if you go through the research guide, you're going to find a whole lot of help documents, video, and related guidelines and charts related to searching for information. I try to put a variety of different approaches up just because I think becoming a good searcher, first of all, it takes a lot of time, and students are often surprised about that they think they can just kind of breeze through the search process. And the longer I work with students, I realize that the more time you spend up front thinking about these questions, the better your searching will be and the faster it'll be for you. Some students like to use a concept map, and I have an example up. I prefer a concept map. It really helps me in my thinking. I have a set of terms here. So, we talked a little bit about your searching and the relationship between accurate terms for your discipline in searching. These are links to actual glossaries and search terms. And then what we talked about with the articles of how to use one article and, to find other articles. And then just some simple ideas about subjects and keywords. So please think about this. I do have a video up about improving your search terms and crafting a savvy search strategy. I'm not going to go through everything here because I think after a certain period of time you kind of zone out on library research, but I did want to mention under research integrity, citation tools. You saw the tool in the Discovery Service for citations. Another one I want to mention is Citation Builder. If you click on this, this is from the North Carolina State University Libraries. They had a federal grant to develop this tool, and I think it works really well. You tell it what you want to cite. Say you're citing a website. You need to cite it in APA. You complete a form and you submit it, and out spits your citation. It can be a tremendous time saver, but again, you need to check it. So, how do you check it? Let's go back to citation. I've given you links to APA. The APA site is pretty well developed. My only reservation about it is it's very wordy, and you have to go through a lot of rules to find what you're looking for. If you're in a history or political science class, you would be using the Chicago Manual of Style. And then for other classes in the humanities, you'd be using Modern Language Association, MLA. The MLA site is not terribly developed. It isn't the same as the APA site. So what I generally do, and honestly, I tend to use OWL a whole lot more than anything else. I have links to OWL's APA guide, Chicago, and MLA. I like OWL for two reasons. They give a very concise definition, then lots of examples, and they also keep up with all the strange formats. For example, I think if you're studying the president, you would want to use some tweets. Well, how do you cite a tweet? Al is going to tell you pretty easily in APA and MLA. So just keep that in mind. Let's go back to the library homepage. And I just want to mention a couple things. One is library workshops. I run a series of these. I've gotten to the point where I generally ask the instructor to sign it up, but you should feel free as a student to contact me, and I can do one of these workshops now. I have the syllabus created for each one of these, and I can do them for one person or several people. And I think most students find them pretty useful. They don't last any longer than 45 minutes, and it's an opportunity for you to ask questions. So that pretty much wraps up a tour of library services. I want to again emphasize you can contact me whenever you run into problems or want some help, or even just how to get started. And that pretty much concludes the tour. Have a very good day, and I hope to hear from you soon.